Alrighty, what is up, guys? Evan Aldo here. Welcome back. Really fun market still. Latest trade, I did a scalp long this morning. I also did a Bitcoin long that did get stopped out. We'll talk about that this morning. I mean, it's all game of probability. You're never going to win. It was a pretty good setup for that small Bitcoin long that did get stopped out. It was a very obvious setup, so I'll talk about that, why I think it did kind of get stopped out. Sometimes if it's too obvious, it doesn't work out as much. And then, scalp along from this morning. These were all trades in Aldo Empire VIP Discord. The trade yesterday was the ETH long, which did really well. I did take this out, did close it out completely because it got kind of euphoric last night when we were on the live stream. In hindsight, maybe not the best idea because we could go up more, which I'll talk about in a second. But yeah, if you guys are interested in the Aldo Empire VIP Discord, link in description below. Now, basically what happened here is we hit off of this area. This was a nice kind of scalp long, and I'll show you, we'll get into why I took that. So the first thing, I'll show you what I was looking at. So the first thing I was looking at when I took the first one that could get stopped out, trigger wave right here on the 15. Usually these trigger waves do work pretty well when you're in an uptrend. This one, not quite. You came down to the spiral line pocket, and then you got a big, ferocious jump up right here. And then the thing I was looking at when I entered was essentially right here, bull div on the 1 minute as you're hitting this big area. You got some yellow X's, look for some sell exhaustion. You got the bull div, and that was looking good too. And then when it's really freaking, when it's really quick, these markets, you could look a little bit at the 30-second is a good time to look at. Only if it's like very volatile, where you're going down real quick, going up real quick. Bull div, money flow coming up, and that worked out very, very well. Curvature, trigger wave, and then you kept continuing kind of forward. Actually, that trigger wave it's a 30-second, forgive me, but, that kind of, trigger right there, and then you continued forward. That one did pretty well. And now you're kind of losing this area. So that's what we got to keep in mind here. We got to keep in mind, what could potentially happen next. But what I'm seeing here, especially if this 30-minute does confirm the green dot. I already seen the green dot, the trigger wave on the regular candles. That may be confirming. That could be what potentially takes us up to 35.5, this spider line. We also have, I think I did post it in the Discord. I'll just show you. We also had, where was the chart for it? This case to come up to around 37K. Some people in the live chat were talking about, a couple smart people were talking about potentially coming up to 37K. If you do break out of, this kind of pattern here, 37K is a possibility. However, I do think that, I don't think you're going to go straight up there. But what would kind of, let's say strengthen that possibility is money flow is still pretty high up on the 12-hour, all the way through the daily, pretty high up here. Even the 2-day, you're still coming up with money flow on all of these time frames, which does signify a potential continuation. Weekly as well. Jeez, wow. And then monthly green dot. So things look kind of like bullish amplified almost. This is like, you came up a lot so far. That's what you gotta be a little bit cautious. We were talking about, little Tommy in the, if you don't understand the reference, you should probably watch part of my live stream yesterday. Little Tommy, he's going for a touchdown. He's going all the way, and then he just gets tackled. So you gotta, out of nowhere. So that could absolutely happen now. The next kind of place, let's look at the 4-hour and below. So 4-hour money flow still not bad. I mean, it's overheated, but you're kind of almost coming down. You got the bear div from back there. I mean, you're hitting traffic, but nothing awful yet. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing that makes me think this market's definitely gonna, drop down farther here. If anything, I'd be more inclined to go with more of the bearish case. Now, you do have bullish case, excuse me. Now, you do have money flow coming out on the right here. You got some money flow coming out on your 22 minutes. That's what we gotta, kind of keep in mind there. And, that's what we got to keep in mind. But that doesn't mean much to me until we get these money flow crossovers on potentially our 15. Now, if we do get that money flow crossover on the 15 coming deeper into the red, and, that could potentially bring us downward, and your 30-minute trigger wave kind of doesn't confirm or doesn't play out, then you're looking at a potential drop down to, 31, right back down. So that's what we got to keep in mind here. But real short-term trigger wave on the 6-minute, it does seem like you'll get some more short-term bearishness potentially rejecting off of this spiral line right here. These usually are pretty good indications. How far could he come down? I don't know. I mean, this right here in the red was a nice buy signal. This right here in the red was also a nice buy signal. Maybe we could see another red crossover, a nice buy signal, bring us up farther. So that's potentially Bitcoin right now. Where could we end up? I mean, based on the high time frames, like I mentioned, 37K, you know, is potentially 36 or 37K are potentially in the cards here, which is pretty crazy. You know, we're almost kind of breaking our 4-year cycle here. It's almost looking more like, let's just go on oh wait, we could, yeah, this is a better chart for this. We could go on the weekly here, and you see it's almost more like 2015 because you had your second bottom. If we, I mean, I don't think, you know, it'd be wild if this is 25K, second bottom, first bottom here, second bottom in August 2015, you know, similar. Where was this bottom actually? It was September, and then you were kind of just home free. So, wow. I mean, even I wouldn't fret, you know, if you don't have any Bitcoin right now, I wouldn't fret too much. You know, don't FOMO in, don't go too crazy. I think the best DCA period for Bitcoin is more from kind of now. Well, really, I mean, I kind of stopped buying, you know, as we came into the green here, bought a little bit more in the red, and then stopped buying as we came into the green. I have a lot though, you know, I have a lot, but I wouldn't fret. You know, if you look at history here, you got some, you know, you got another year, you know, at least probably over another year, if the 4-year cycle holds. So it could be pretty wild. It could definitely be pretty wild, especially if we do make a new all-time high here. It'd be pretty crazy. So yeah, and moving on to, you know, kind of Ethereum here, which is reasonably, let's just look at ETH Bitcoin. I mean, it's, let's see if we can load here. Really bled, you know, really keeps bleeding against Bitcoin. So obviously Bitcoin is the better buy. The alts, all of the alts, I mean, there's a few of them that have outperformed Bitcoin, but most of them throughout this jump up have not outperformed Bitcoin. So we're not in the place where you convert your Bitcoin into alts, you know, just quite yet. Where would that be? I'm thinking this 2-week red dot, but I do think at this point, this is a place where I'm starting to DCA in just a little bit into ETH every week. I think from, you know, from now, essentially November until like end of March, pre-halvening, pre-Bitcoin halving is a really good place to be DCing into ETH. You could absolutely wait until we get this green dot here because this could break down farther. I mean, don't be surprised if this drops another 30% against Bitcoin. There's smart people who even think it could come down lower, you know, another 40% against Bitcoin, especially if we do come back down to the low 20s or something. So just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. The next 6 months may not be as good as, and they may not be as good as some may think. So just keep that in mind. Now, moving on to ETH versus the US dollar. You know, that looks pretty good here. And I can spend a ton of time on this, but, you know, essentially breaking upward from this area, you do have kind of a technical target, or a technical target would be all the way up around this area, so around 19 something, especially if Bitcoin does continue forward here. Getting some rain outside. Does continue forward here, that is a possibility. Your monthly may get a trigger wave to the upside too. So this is a very, you know, overall just a more bullish. I mean, trigger wave on the 2-week right there, you know, that's very similar to here. You know, you were essentially home free there. So this is going to be wild if this is the start. We're a little early. This is April 2020. We're way ahead of schedule if that does play out. Now, keep in mind, guys, the bearish case is possible here. Keep in mind, you could do something of this nature, come right back down into the end of the year, early next year. So just keep that in mind, especially if this doesn't confirm. But kind of looks like it can. And if we look at, I think my internet's a little slow right now, but money flow coming up on the daily, that looks pretty good. Yeah, I mean, money flow coming up on a lot of these time frames looks pretty good. 6 hour, I mean, I'm not seeing any, you know, reason to believe that we're completely topped out, you know, just yet. We got our drop down, you know, nice bounce off of the volume area low. And, you know, it kind of seems like that we made it through the volume area low. We're probably going to end up at the volume area high, 1925. Does seem like a possibility here, especially if, you know, we get some of these anchor waves, green dots to bring us up. Now, obviously, if we lose this area, here, that's the case to, you know, come down farther, come down to the spiral line, and, you know, potentially just come down all the way, you know, come down, you know, deep into the red on some of these time frames. But until then, until then, I'm rooting for this guy over here, this long position until that kind of happens. Profits locked in there. So yeah, we could look at a few. Let's look at Bitcoin dominance. That's important. That's moved. Moving up more. Money flow is still strong in that weekly. I think for Bitcoin dominance, and this is going to be a good place to be, good situation to start DCing into altcoins. I think as these kind of RSIs come up a little bit more and we get the next red dot here on Bitcoin dominance, that's going to be the place to be starting to DCA into altcoins. So yeah, I mean, ultimately, I don't think it's the worst possible time to DCA into altcoins. I'd be a little cautious on the ones that didn't move that much throughout this jump up. The ones that had a good move during this jump up, those are probably the ones that will survive. A lot of them, at least into the next bull run. A lot of them that didn't move that much, they may not survive. That's what I would kind of say here. But you got a little bit of time, I would say, in terms of the place. At least when you get that bear div on that 2 week, I think that in money flow coming out, that's going to be the kind of telltale place to be converting Bitcoin into altcoins, accumulating altcoins. But we're not quite there completely yet. Monthly red dot as well probably will give you what you need November 19th. See, we're not quite there yet. We're ahead of schedule in some ways, and we're behind schedule in other ways. So you got to wait till this comes down. I think that's going to be the place to kind of get into altcoins. I mean, we would hope that Bitcoin, corrects into at least back into the 20s by then, but we'll see what happens here. We'll see what happens if we can get up to 37K or whatever. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens here. So. That's pretty much all I got. Some of the big ones, Cardano, it would be similar to the ETH analysis. I mean, nothing looks too bad yet. It looks like it could potentially keep going, just like AVAX. But I think that AVAX as well. But I do think that ultimately, some of these will get caught in trap. This wick at 11, I mean, and it will. The other thing is it will probably take longer to get up to that point. It may take another week or two. I don't think we're just going to shoot straight up. Although stranger things have happened. We also got the FOMC meeting, I believe, coming up. Is it November 1st, something like that? Is it in about a week from now, maybe 8 days from now? That could start to kind of that could end the fun potentially. We could be bullish until then that kind of ends the fun. But anyway, guys, I took this trade on FAIRDESK. If you want to sign up for FAIRDESK, we do a $100 giveaway every single week with FAIRDESK. All you have to do is do one futures trade. You got like a very high odds of winning the $100 trading bonus. Is a pretty good exchange on VPN, no KYC required. If you want really low fees, which are really good for scalping as well, MEXC is the other main exchange that I use. So check that out. 0 limit fees with my link down below. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Check out the Discord. If you want to do a one-on-one session with me, link down below as well. And some of my analysts in the Discord. We do fantastic in there. So check all that out. All right, guys, hope you have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.